Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I have got a very strange and special series of books that I stumbled across on the internet, and luckily you can still get these all pretty much directly from the artist through Amazon print on demand. So Shane Simmons is the artist here. This is Longshot Comics, and there's 3 volumes. They're visually very similar, as you can see, and on the inside they're very similar. I don't know if I'm actually going to go through all of the books. I want to because they're hilarious, but also like you'll kind of get the idea of what it is pretty quickly. But there's the life of 3 different people here. The actual first volume that got released is this volume, The Long and Unlearned Life of Roland Geathers. This originally came out in 1993, and this is the current printing. Then in 1997, the sequel to that, about, I believe, Roland's grandson, Bradley, The Failed Promise of Bradley Geathers, came out. And then much later, in 2018, the 3rd volume came out, which is actually a prequel, and I think this is Filson Geathers, The Unauspicious Adventures of Filson Geathers, I believe, is the grandfather of Roland. And so you have this multi-generational family story told about this family of obviously like kind of losers. You can tell based on the titles of these things. That's what this is. And because of the span of time that this covers, from 18, let's see, when does this book start? This character lived from 1860 to 1949. You get basically 1860 to somewhere into the 1980s, I believe, with Bradley Geathers. Let me see, they should say on the inside of this book. Oh, we get up to 1993 with Bradley Geathers' life. So you have a huge span of history that's covered in these very, very deep, intensely funny satires. They're very British. They look at England as colonizers and tear that apart in all the world wars. The funny thing about this book, besides the hilarious dialogue throughout, is that the comics are told entirely through dialogue and these little dots and this grid of panels that's very consistent throughout all. It never breaks, that grid of panels. And the dots are all the different characters. It's so that's what I'm saying. Like, I could show you this in any book and it's going to look the same. It's really funny though, because if a bit like here, where a baby's being born, they'll pop out like just a little tiny dot will pop out. Yeah, here I have that. It's probably not even going to show up on screen, but like there, a little teeny tiny dot pokes out. So now they've got a baby. And over time, like other characters get overweight, and so the dot will get a little bigger. The kids will be smaller. So that's really funny. And then Shane Simmons does such a great job of like staging the dots, where they're at, how they move past each other. It's all perfect to where you never really lose the sense of who's talking, which I think is a phenomenal like trick being pulled just based on this and this. This is as close as comics can come to script writing, I think, at the most minimal level, where you're showing this person's here, this is what they're saying. And it brought me to the point in between literature and comics that I don't think I've ever been brought to before, where none of the picture is being provided for me other than this person's on the left and this person's on the right. But the dialogue plays out in such a way that I know where I'm at, or like here it'll say down at the pub, life at home. So you always know where you're at, and then just based on the dialogue, you have enough information to fill in the rest of the scene for yourself. So it has that interior engagement of the imagination that I'm used to from reading like prose fiction. One of the things I like about comics is that it speeds things up because it shows me what's there, so I don't have to spend time reading descriptions of things. This kind of solves that problem by letting me still fill in all the details, but move at the pace of a comic. So it's actually a really, like, this is probably the purest comics I've ever seen, the closest to the border of comics and literature that I've ever seen. It's phenomenally clever. But it could get boring really quick, and the fact that I've got 3 volumes of it with sticky notes all throughout shows, hopefully, the This is a writing-driven comic, obviously, so the writing has to be strong for this to work, and it does. And I'll just go through and read you some of the pieces, parts that I found funny. So in this one, right out at the beginning, we're getting the birth of Roland Geathers, and the doctor's telling the mother, it's all part of birthing, the pain. Try not to dwell on it. Dwell on it? Sorry, but it's a little preoccupying having a small human being trying to claw its way out of your privates. Now, Miss Geathers, it's not all as bad as that. So constantly like the social satire going through and ripping up all of the racism, sexism, colonialism, all of that all throughout. This scene here is quite hilarious. Roland is now grown up and gotten married, or he's off with his girlfriend for the first time or whatever, but they're trying to have sex for the first time, and they've got the lights off, I believe, and Roland has no idea what to do, and just going through in the dialogues. All right, how about here? Does that work? Nope. Here? No, that hurts. Nope, not here. Here? Okay. And then, well, does it hurt there? That must be it then. And then just quiet. Anything yet? Fine then. I'll just jiggle it about for a bit and see what happens. Oh, I think that was it. Are you sure? It didn't taste like any seed I've ever had before. Seed? Like in the Bible. I expected something more like sunflower seeds or sesame seeds. That was hardly very seedy. It's more gooey than anything. That must have been it. I don't think you're going to get any real seeds out of this thing. So now what? I guess I'm supposed to have a baby. There's just constant hilarious dialogue like that throughout. You do get a rare instance where the format changes a little bit, and here you get some actual bang, hack, chop, pow, slice type of sound effects. You can see now Roland is in the army, so you get more dots, like he'll be in a group of dots. The lights do go out at times. So even though it's a pretty visually static book, every now and then Shane Simon will play with the rules and get a little fun here. So they're running around like trying to escape from somewhere, and then the light gets put on them. And then we even get some boom boom kabooms and blows up as they're in the war. So that's the first one, just trying to blow through all of these, giving you a sense of what they are. That's Bradley's life, very involved in the first two wars. That was Roland. Bradley is his grandson, I believe. And so you get Roland's son, Nathaniel, and his wife, Ellen. Then they're going to have this child, Bradley Geathers. And you will see some of Roland showing up in here as well. They cross over that way. Some more hilarious dialogue. But could someone please cut the umbilical cord before we make arrangements? I don't want to be dragging my baby behind me with the gowns train. So, shotgun wedding there. Most of these hilarious bits play out over long sequences, but another funny little one-liner here. Do babies count as passengers or luggage? And this is extra funny because this one came out in 1997. So this came out extra funny here, but good Lord, Dot, I don't care for it any more than you, Bradley, but what can we do? She's a big girl, she can make her own decisions. Besides, I thought you were a liberal too. So did I. And they're talking about his daughter's dating a black guy. He said, but I'm not kind of banana or whatever liberal. Cindy Portier I could handle. I saw that movie and I thought, he's not so bad. I'd let my daughter marry him. Or that Bill Cosby fellow. At least he's amusing. But all this Africa nonsense and crimes against his people. So here he's being like super racist about the fact that his daughter's dating a black guy, but like there's some guys that are all right. And in retrospect, that line is even funnier. That he's like, or that Bill Cosby guy, he's an all right black guy. I'd be cool with my daughter dating him. So even within the satire that he's providing, which is like totally scathing all the way throughout of like how racist and sexist we are, it's so funny that it's actually becoming funnier as time plays out. And then in the third book, we're going back even further in the family tree. So we jump forward and then we jump backwards and we go back pre-Roland to his ancestor, Filson. And we're going all the way back to 1778 here. And it's talking right away about the fact that the child was born during the war. So he says, but of course there wasn't any son when he left. You weren't born yet. You came along nearly 9 months after he set sail. You arrived just under the wire there, my boy. Plenty of soldiers come back from war to new sons and daughters who were born 10, 11, 12 months after they left. It can be quite awkward. Thankfully, most of them are still too stunned from all the cannon fire to do the math. So really immediately jumping into social situations of the wars at the time. Another really longer sequence here that's pretty hilarious, though, where someone's coming back and they're being asked to report. Did you find what the enemy is up to? Yes, sir. Hiding in trees, in bushes, under rocks. It seems this is English redcoat reporting back about the Americans in the American Revolution. We came marching at them in straight orderly rows and were mowed down with a few good volleys of musket fire. But you never broke ranks? No, sir. Except for the ones who were too busy dropping dead and to continue marching. Very good, then. Begging your pardon, sir, but that's still a dozen casualties for us and not as much as a scratch inflicted on the enemy. We're not faring as well as we should against these guerrilla tactics. Damned if I'll beat by a bunch of Americans behaving like monkeys. No, not guerrilla tactics, guerrilla as in guerre. It's a French term. That's even worse. Better a monkey than a bloody frog. So just hilarious stuff like that all throughout. Here's another good sequence, really, really good one, where they're asking the cook in the army camp what they're going to have for dinner. What has the cook managed to procure for our dinner? I hope the local wildlife was presented a more flavorful morsel this evening. He's scrounged up some roosters for the mess, sir. Excellent. It's been a while since I've had a good cock. Sir? We can't be eating beaver every night. I won't speak for the others, but I like a bit of variety, and I do enjoy cock. Do you like eating cock, Gethers? We're talking about the bird, right? Birds, cocks, they're all pretty much the same once you sink your teeth into them. It's mostly a matter of size. I'm more of a red meat man, sir. Ah, you prefer beaver then. I like to eat plenty of beaver myself. It's a succulent meat to wrap your lips around. You know, my wife likes to eat beaver as well. How perverse! Yes, at first she tried to hide it from me. She'd get a piece behind my back when she could. I caught her going down one day. Going down? Down the cellar. That's where we keep the provisions. There she was, munching on a piece of beaver like there was no tomorrow. And it keeps going on like that. So you can imagine the kind of like funny, punny, back and forth Abbott Costello-y type of dialogue that drives all of these books. Here's another one to wrap it up here. Mind your tongue, Gethers, and I may only give you an intriguing scar in a delicate area. Yeah, well, watch yours or I'll slice your nuts clean off, you goddamn fop. More or less the threat I was making, but thank you for translating it into moron for us. So just, yeah, funny stuff all throughout in a brilliant format that I think boils comics down to its most essential components. It bridges the gaps between literature and comics in a way I've never seen before. And yeah, to do that, Shane Simons had to be an exceptional writer. And yes, this is something written by an exceptionally funny writer who was able to make 300 pages worth of dots talking at each other and keep me engaged at every point of the way. Someone who tore down like hundreds of years of our society with scathing satirical comedy, all the way from, the American Revolution to 1993, burning down everything in its wake. These are some hilarious books. They're super cheap, Amazon print on demand from Longshot Comics. So if you haven't read these, if you didn't ever see them in their original instantiations, and if you love comics and what it can be as a medium, I don't think I could recommend anything could get a higher recommendation than these three comics by Shane Simons.